Welcome to the fine print, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Caleb Teske. Tonight we got we got a late night interview. I don't normally go this late, but you know, I had a request and I'm gonna grant it because this is my third time guest, by the way, too, here who's lining up in the back. But before we bring him out, I'd really like to thank some of my last guests here. Big homie Wes, dude. We did the party over at Oasis, and that was super dope to go see all those guys. David Camara from Cloud9 Cannabis. That was a really good interview. I've got a lot coming up for you guys, including Lars Olofsson on September 3rd, who's going to talk about the Juicy Fields investment scam in Europe. That's going to be a killer interview. I got Eric from Spring, Vermont, your way. He's in Hardwick. He's got a tier 3 manufacturing. I'm super excited to talk to him. I got Todd Bailey coming up in November 11th. So we got some great guests coming at you. And we got a comment. Whoa. Hey, I'm gonna bring my guest out. It's Dusty Kenney from Cambridge Cannabis Company, my third time guest in the history of the show. Dusty, thank you for coming back, man. We got a comment from Nick Woodard at Bushy Beard saying, "What up?"
What up, Nick? How you doing? Looking forward to my drop tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, cool. You got Bushy Beard coming for a drop?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Second drop at the shop. Pretty much we're sold out of the first drop completely now. We will be getting some bulk in from those guys. You know how much I love that bulk sale. So pre-packaged is not the way to go at the CCC. The way that we like to move flower is in the bulk way. So,
would you mind expanding? Sorry to jump right into it here, but
it's not our first conversation.
Yeah. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that bulk sort of deal.
Well, I mean, my thoughts haven't changed since the beginning. From back in the day, I went ahead and sold weed one way, and that was by weighing out a sack and putting it in a bag and handing it to a customer. I don't think that changed. I don't think that's what the customer is looking for, is that same experience. They look forward to when you pop open a big fat jar and that smell that comes out of it, how it takes over the room, the ability to kind of look in there and be like, ooh, I want that one. Oh, no, I want that one. Oh, yeah, no, it's fine that if you go ahead and make it weigh 3.6 instead of 3.5. They like that kind of variety. They like that idea of shopping. I think it's a little bit more convenient for the consumer. I think that the cannabis lasts longer, preserves better, and is actually getting better in my safe every day. There's some stuff that I pull out some of these jars and I'm blown away how the nose has really grown on them in the 2 to 3 weeks that it sits in my safe.
So you think that is a little better for storage purposes, maybe?
Oh, without a doubt. I don't think there's anybody in the world that's going to think that going ahead and taking cannabis and splitting it up into 3.5 grams and putting them into glass jars and storing them on pallets is the best way to store cannabis. I mean, if they do, I'd love to have a conversation with them.
Let's get them on.
And again, I think the idea here is trying to preserve the terps as much as we possibly can. As long as we can go ahead and keep those flavors intact and make it that we're enjoying a fine product. The best way to do that is storing that in bigger amounts together instead of breaking it down. It holds up better. I think that you go ahead and see a better overall product. I'd much rather go ahead and have a half pound of weed going ahead and curing together than have 35 different jars sitting around.
Yeah. Fair. And you do have one of the largest product selections in Vermont as far as
not one of. I have the biggest selection in the state of Vermont. No question about it. I have 74 different strains of bulk flower right now. I got 103 different pre-rolls, 50 some different edibles. We specialize in selection. The idea is that if you come here and you're looking for the best of flower that's in the state of Vermont, it's on our shelves. And I think that we can go ahead and say that there's very few things that we don't have in the store. And I'm always shopping for more. There's one thing that I'm always looking for is that next great strain and the next great grower. I mean, I still think that the best grower in the state we haven't found yet.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. Although there are a few that I would throw out there, but we'll leave that for another time. I do want to ask you about the 24% truck stuck in the notch deal, because I've seen a couple of those going down, and I know that seems like a really cool marketing thing that you guys have done. I'd love to hear about that.
Um, well, I tell you, it's a great marketing thing. The stupid trucks will quit getting stuck. I mean, 24% is a huge markdown to go ahead and take, especially for 6 hours while they try to go ahead and get an 18-wheeler stuck from the notch. But it has gone ahead and been a lot of fun, a little tongue in cheek. I definitely am the first one to find out as soon as something gets stuck in the notch, or if there's even a thought of something getting stuck in the notch. An 18-wheeler drives past the store, people are texting me. So if a truck doesn't turn into smugs, I find out about it before VTrans does. And again, to all truckers out there, by the way, if you come into the store, I will give you a 10% off discount. You do not have to get it stuck in the notch to get the discount. Just come in, trucker.
That's the truckers. 10% discount. Is it?
Yeah. I mean, okay. anything to keep them from getting stuck in the notch. I mean, that saves me 14%. Well, Caleb, I think I came up with this idea after our first interview, and it was why I was sitting here waiting to get licensed, and we were just running the glass shop, giving away those brookies, giving away all that free cannabis. And a truck got stuck in the notch, and I watched the Madonna Mobile across the street just fill up with people, and there was nowhere for them to go. There's nothing for them to do. They just sat there, and I was like, I can't not jump on top of that. So that's where that idea came from. And the 24% comes from the $2,400 fine, which is supposed to be the base fine that when the truck gets stuck in the notch. So for anyone that doesn't know, when you drive up here, you see a sign that says it don't fit, $2,400 fine. That's what that's about. That's where the 24% came from.
I'm going to pop in and out here. But I really love what you're doing with that deal. Even if it might lose just some money, which it sounds like. But I thought that was a clever marketing technique.
Well, the idea is to push the envelope, right? Like, again, if we're not going ahead and trying to find something a little bit different, something to go ahead and move the edge and kind of push us a little bit forward, then we're just kind of stagnant. And that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to go ahead and be in an industry where I'm just, plugging away. I want to go ahead and have fun.
Can we talk about Toki the bear?
We can. Toki is another instance. So Toki is a creation from Dennis French, a local artist. If you've been to the Zen Barn has a piece of his work also up in there. So he actually made a piece for Ari that was an old Smokey the Bear that he painted green, and it was smoking a joint. I said, wait a minute here. I was like, I need to have something to do with this guy. And at that same time, I was having my daily conversations with Smokey the Bear about his fire danger and what he thought was going ahead and in my store as I presumed. So with my daily conversations with Smokey, I started thinking about the idea that Smokey probably has a cousin, like we all do, that burns a little too much. And if that was his case, what would be his name? What would he be like? And what would be his backstory? So with that in mind, I teamed up with Dennis, and Dennis went ahead and created me my 9.5-foot Toki the Bear. That's very similar to.
I'd like to shout him out, whoever made that.
Dennis Frank.
Yep. Cool. Nice job, Dennis.
So amazing work. And again, there's so many great artists in this community. Him, Shannon O, that I've come up with these ideas that I'm just like, they're way out.
Is Shannon the other woman who's been doing a lot of the artwork in your dispensary?
Yes, yeah. Shannon's been. She lived here locally up until she just moved to Mount Pillier right before the floods. Weirdly enough, but she's done most of the artwork that's in the store. All my TERP charts, all that stuff have been interpretations that we've taken of there's normal posters that you can go ahead and buy for $35-$40, but
interpretations.
And yeah, and again, her little tones and the glow in the dark paint, the different things, like just that adds a little bit more touch and a little bit more class to it. The idea is that we're going to go ahead and educate you, but we might as well do it with some art too.
I noticed you also did the outside of your windows with some maybe that gold sort of thing.
Gold. What color is that?
Is it gold? It looked gold to me.
That's copper, brother. If it's touching CCC, you know it's copper.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my apologies. I noticed that I haven't been over there for a while, and I'm coming to see you next week. But I noticed you did the doors with that nice copper, and it really, dude. I really love what you've done with the inside of your dispensary in a very small space, in my opinion. You put those hanging shelves, and you've really, dude, you've put a lot of products into a very small space, and I really admire that.
Well, I appreciate that. But again, the big thing that where it comes from is that I come from a retail background of sunglasses. I mean, I hustled at Sunglass Huts. So we filled stores with a lot of product. We got you to interact with the product. We educated you about the product, and we tried to go ahead and multi-sell you on the product. We don't do much different here at the CCC. The only difference is that we talk about cannabis. And it's an amazing how the customers love that. They love the idea of being able to touch, feel, and be part of the cannabis, be able to smell it, touch it, see where it's grown, and talk to those bud tenders and have that one-on-one interaction about the product is huge. We don't want to just be a service place. You don't come in here and you don't touch a kiosk. Like, that's not the game plan. The game plan.
No, and that, sorry to cut you off, but the smelling it to me is very important. When I come into a dispensary, and I went to a couple of dispensaries in Massachusetts where they just don't let you smell the herb at all, and you don't get to see it. But like, hey, I got a jar of herb right here. Oh, that's nice. I can stick my nose in it, and I know what I'm buying. And to me, as a customer, which I very much am, that's important to me.
Yeah. Well, again, the idea is that you weren't buying stuff, a couple years ago if you couldn't smell it, right? If I had you come over to my house and I said, yeah, I got some weed for you, but no, you can't touch it or smell it, you ain't buying that. You better not be buying that. And it's the same day and age. We can't change it up just because, yeah, we've gone legal, but the consumer still wants the same interaction. They still want to go ahead and see what the product is, touch the product, be around the product. Now, yeah, you can't actually touch it, but I can get you darn close. I can go ahead and open those jars and make sure you get that first whiff that's come out of that jar in 24 hours. That's an amazing thing, especially when you got something like the Smuggler's Notch Sour, and the first time that you've popped that jar that day, I mean, I come running from the back room for that.
And I did get a little sample of that Smuggler Notch Sour, and boy, that was killer. Yep.
Hey, if there's one thing that we got up here is good weed. We have plenty of good weed in Lemoyle County. That's for sure.
Can I ask you about the Green Castle? Because I saw you post some labels of the Green Castle stuff that just look phenomenal. I don't know if they're doing gummies now or what, but I really like those guys, and I had Adam and Gordon on my show months back, and I really like what they're doing over there.
Green Castle does a great job. I mean, I'm really happy with what they're doing over there. Again, local guys, real close. I'm lucky that I have so many good growers that live in the backyard of the CCC. It's really nice. But Green Castle, with those labels, what's going on actually with that is a new company that I started, which is Vermont Heady Labels. I found that some other label companies weren't going ahead and giving the cannabis industry the attention we deserve. We're a multi-million-dollar industry that's going to need a lot of labels. And it seemed that we were getting kind of the back burner when all of a sudden a beer company needed a rush order. My cannabis order was gone ahead and put back on the back burner. I'm not cool with that. You don't,
no shit, huh?
Yeah, you don't put pretty in the fucking corner. So if you want to go ahead and play that way, then that's fine. Then I'll just go ahead and make my own label company. So we went ahead and started that. The idea was that buying labels off somebody else or going ahead and making my own labels and selling them to the CCC was a better business plan.
So you guys created those Green Castle labels.
I've created the Green Castle. We now have 7 labels. Actually, all the pre-roll tubes that are on the back, right back there, are all labels that we have created.
Do you want to tell us about the Moogs joints?
Yeah. So what happened with Moogs joints was actually my first creative label idea, and what we were doing was a show poster idea. So we were getting ready to do a band was coming in from New Orleans. We were doing a full week of shows. So we went ahead and made a special pre-roll that we made just for those shows. Well, unfortunately, on July 11th, the day of the first shows, is when the flood happened. Moogs was flooded. Moogs closed for about 2 weeks. In that time while that was going on, we had these joints that we were going to sell. So I decided that we'll go ahead and sell these joints, but instead we'll go ahead and turn $5 from every sell these joints to a donation to Moogs. We sold the first 100 joints pretty much in 24 hours. We then teamed up with 802 Pharmacy, and we went ahead and re-released them. We have now sold over 300 Moogs joints for a donation of $1,500 going to helping with the flood relief for Moogs. Again, the whole community was hit. Our store was saved, luckily. I did lose my grow. I did lose the building I was going to do my manufacturing in. But I was spared.
Tell us a little bit about that, if you would, because I don't know if you saw the image there that I popped up on the screen. That was the flooding that happened there. Did that pop up?
Yeah, it popped up.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to hear about that. And I know that you've been working on some fundraisers and the Mo stuff. I was really super curious about, because I think Tom's a great guy, and I really, boy, the labels you threw together, the Moog's joint was perfect in my opinion.
Again, the idea is that we're a community. We help each other. It's nothing new. It's not like we all of a sudden just started helping each other. I'm just starting to tell people about it. You know, I couldn't go ahead and tell people that I made an edible and sold an edible to go ahead and help somebody fund, you know, their cancer treatment. We couldn't talk about that before. We just did it. Now we
which is a bummer, also, in my opinion.
We rolled the way we had to roll. It's a new age and a new way to go ahead and do things now. I don't have to go ahead and be secretive. I don't have to go ahead and hide what we're doing. What we're doing is we're growing amazing cannabis. We're processing that and put it into a shiny package and then selling that, making money for flood relief. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple.
Cool.
You know, I'm not reinventing the wheel. All I'm doing is making it look flashier.
And you guys did make it look pretty flashy, dude. The labels, and I kind of hate the labeling and packaging industry, but you guys did a great job of that.
I'll tell you right now. You walk onto any pre-roll shelf and there's a VT heady label on there. You know which one it is.
Cool.
There's not a question. And we're just getting started. Like, I'm just getting this design stuff dialed in. What you're going to see roll out from us in the next probably 6 weeks will change the way our shelves look forever at Vermont.
Yeah, I got a couple comments here. This is from Nick Woodard as well. Interaction with the customer and the product is huge. Yeah, Nick, thank you for tuning in, Nick. I really like Nick. He's a great guy.
And he's hitting it right on the head. The biggest thing is the interaction with the customers. Like the selection can be as big as possible. If we don't do the interaction, it doesn't matter. You know, if we're not going ahead and talking to those customers and finding out what they want, everybody's buying GG4 and walking the hell out the door. You know, the idea is to go ahead and be able to teach people what they're looking for and what they want in cannabis, because not everybody wants the same thing. And as you help people find what they're looking for, the happier they'll be and the better customers they'll be. And then it won't be a race to the bottom anymore. Instead, it'll be like,
and I do want to say, when I come to your store, it always seems like there's good people helping me. And you know, here's another comment from Shabazz Kara Varani. What's up, fellas? I appreciate the live. Yeah, that was, hey, cool. I'm glad some people are tuning in here. Sorry, I just got to read those off, but I got 2 or 3 more things I'd really like to talk to you about, and one of them is the TERP water.
So as I have 3,000 cans of an idea that I probably came up with years ago, but didn't think. And actually, at the time that I came up with it, it wasn't possible. But the idea was, I always wanted to go ahead and do a low calorie edible. Edibles have always been high in sugar, high in calories. It's always been like, oh, am I going to eat a meal or am I going to go ahead and get high? I didn't want that choice anymore. I wanted people to go ahead and be able to enjoy, you know, the feeling that I, you know, enjoy at all times, and just go in and have that little bit of an uplifted feeling and make life a little bit better without that calorie intake. Something that people don't drink enough of is water. So why don't we just go ahead and add THC to water and go from there? Well, that's a little too easy. So then the idea was, then how do we go ahead and turn this water into actually something that's really cannabis? So then the idea was, why don't we add in live terps from fresh frozen material? So what we're going to be rolling out, the very first terp water that'll be hitting the shelves, label is almost done in production, and this thing's a fiery label. This is definitely probably the best one we've done so far. Once it actually hits the cooler shelves, you won't miss it. But once we go ahead and get this thing out, it should roll in at 5 milligrams THC, 4.5 calories. It's just a light lemon water. Should roll in also at 4-point-something% terpenes. And that's going to be
just straight water
combined. Water with lemon. Yeah, water, lemon, and THC. The next one that we're going to go ahead and do will be a strain specific hash rosin nano, and from there on we'll be rolling out strain specifics. And the way that we'd like to roll it out is hopefully a new one every 30 days. With that being said, I have probably about 75 different strains that I would like to do this with. So once we get rolling, I don't see us shutting down for a while.
Yeah, I want to ask you this, Dusty, because it's something that when I come into your store as a customer, I feel sort of overwhelmed with the amount of options you have. Yes. Do you ever feel like that's an issue for your customers?
Yes, it can be, but that's intentional. The idea is to overload the senses. The idea is to create an experience that you will remember forever. And 70 different strains of cannabis is something you remember forever. That idea of being like, I couldn't decide what I wanted to go through and what I wanted to smoke. So I had to come back 3 times in my 4-day vacation. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that experience. I'm not really could I make it an easier shopping experience? For sure. I could go ahead and find the best 6 strains that I think's in the state. We can put those 6 strains on the shelf. We can go ahead and rock that, and that's all we have, and we'll just keep rotating 6 different strains. But that's not fun. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to have a good time and enjoy what I'm doing. And the way to enjoy the hustle for me is to find the best cannabis I possibly can and fill my safe with it. It's like a paint shop. If you go into a paint shop and they don't have, the super silver metallic you're looking for, you're kind of pissed. Like, man, I went to a paint shop and they didn't have what I need. Well, we're a paint shop and we have every color underneath the rainbow. And if there's a color out there that I don't have, then it looks like that we need to get it. And that's a message to every grower out there. Just because I have the biggest selection in the state does not mean I'm not always shopping for cannabis and looking for new products. I'm always looking for that next great thing.
And have you had any customers come in and be like, yo, we're looking for this thing or the other thing that we can't find, and now you got to go look for it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I love it. There's nothing better than someone coming in and being like, you know what I haven't had? I would like a forbidden Zittles.
Yo, I got to interrupt you for a minute because I got a Nick Matei comment. He says, every color of the rainbow, Dusty. Yo, Nick, thank you so much for listening. I really love Nick. He's a great guy. And we got another comment here from Chelsea Sanders. With the new rules from the CCB, are you going to be allowed to have drinks still?
CCB did not rule on saying whether or not I can chill stuff. I can chill whatever that I want. CCB did rule that items cannot be mandated for refrigeration. That's all they did. So unfortunately, some of our friends have been left out in the wind. What they did to manufacturer license number 1 is an absolute blasphemy, and the whole system should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, and I talked to Martha at Fog Valley, who sounds like she was one of the few people who was impacted by that rule.
Yeah, right. Again, her whole business model was built on this, and then you're going to give her license 1 and then come back less than a year later and say, oh, by the way, your business model don't work. That's not how I run a business. I would be upset with my staff if something like that happened. But again, we're in a growing phase. We're learning. We're all trying to get through this. It's tough on everybody. We're all a little overworked. But we got to go ahead and make sure that this stuff doesn't happen in the future. We can't just have rules go ahead and change people's business models instantly.
Right. When you build your whole business on top of these rules that the state has created, which are already, in my opinion, cumbersome, and then to go ahead and start a business that a year later they're telling you is no longer viable.
And what changed? What changed? We got more lucrative. We actually made more tax revenue. We got better skilled at what we were doing. Nothing went backwards, and there was no harm done. The only thing that changed was that all of a sudden, what changes is that we have a governor that doesn't want to go ahead and force the health department to play with us. Let's go ahead and boil it on down. That's what it really comes down to. To go ahead and be that guy at 9 o'clock at night. But that's really what it comes down to.
Yo, you said it, not me, dude.
Yeah.
But I've also said it. I agree with you, dude. I think the Department of Health has really not been helpful in this push towards legalization. I think that they've been the opposite of helpful, in my opinion.
Our solution, though, to this needs to be a solution to the CCB, and that needs to be going ahead and paying positions. We produce enough revenue and tax revenue as I write those checks. I know how much I pay. There's enough money that's going in there that we can go ahead and pay for our own health inspectors if we have to. If that's what it takes.
Do you care to tell us how much you're paying in taxes every month?
I would rather not.
Yeah.
It is the most amount of money that I've ever paid out for anything ever.
Yeah.
And it happens every month.
Fair. I ain't gonna hold your feet to the fire on that, because I know a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but it seems like a lot of money, and it seems like alcohol is being taxed, half of what cannabis is being taxed. And I always thought, in my opinion, that those taxes were sort of based on some kind of moral hazard. And I always thought like cannabis should be taxed way less than alcohol.
I am not as worried about how much we're taxed as I am worried about where that money goes. If we use that money properly into things, that's fine. If the state can get 20% on cannabis, good for the state, I guess. But I want it spent properly. Don't be using it for commercials to scaring people out of away from cannabis. Let's not use this to try to power more reefer madness. If we're going to go ahead and use this money, let's use it for proper things. Let's start going ahead and start using it for things that need support. Let's not just waste it away. And that's my biggest worry. But as we circle back about the question in general, is that no, what the CCB has said to us is that we can't have dairy products, we can't have meat products, and you can't have a product that has to be refrigerated. You can still refrigerate products. I refrigerate every single one of my drinks. Right now we have 9 different beverages in the shelves that are all refrigerated. I also refrigerate all my hash. I also refrigerate a lot of all my water soluble. So there's a few things that I do keep refrigerated just because I think it makes for a better shelf life and a customer wants to be ready to use.
I was going to ask you, is there any reason why you refrigerate your hash and stuff like that? But it sounds like you beat me to the punch there.
Yeah, oxidization is just the best way for storage. Again, trying to go ahead and preserve the terps. That's the whole, as Toki would say, man, you got to save the terps.
Yeah, and I really love Toki. I was sad that you had to take that down.
So what happened with that is I created a 9.5 foot fictional character smoking a joint and put him outside. I knew he was going to have to be moved inside. I was either going to have to age gate the driveway or I was going to have to move him inside. By all means, it wasn't a big deal. Dennis built him for the intention of being inside. The idea with him outside was just a temporary thing. The CCB has been great about things and let me go ahead and be as crazy as I want to be, and give me great guidance on this stuff. So they didn't come in and say, you need to rip Tukey down. You need to do this. You need to do that. They were actually very understanding. And I believe they kind of enjoyed the humor in the matter a little bit.
As they should, dude, because that was funny.
I'm not going to quit running. That's the idea, is that we can just go ahead and keep playing this game. And this is how you push the envelope. You slowly go ahead and move things down. So even talking about those labels with Green Castle, no one's been able to go ahead and get as many colors approved on labels as we've been able to get. The images we've been able to get approved. And the way we've done that is because we've worked directly. We've gone ahead and said, hey, you guys, what do you like about this label? What do you think we should change about this label? Where do you think we should go ahead and go with that? What's your suggestions? And the CCB has been great about going ahead and giving us a little bit of guidance and going ahead and letting us go ahead and find our artistic interpretation of what these labels should look like.
Well, and I know there's been a lot of argument over, what can be allowed on labels and what cannot be allowed on labels. And it seems like you guys have really found a killer way to get around. I don't want to say even get around it, but dude, those Green Castle pre-roll labels, I wish I could pull it up right now because that shit looked ridiculous.
Well, I'll drop a little heater on you. We are redoing all of their pre-roll labels. That'll all be strain specific, and we are going to stick with a certain theme to all of them. That'll tell a story. Again, I going back to those old Pepsi cans for the holidays. You know how they used to have all that the hidden little cookies in them and all that fun stuff. That's what we're getting ready to roll into. We're going to get to that era now where our labels will tell a story. You're going to have to collect them all to see what's going on. But once you collect them all and line them up, you never know what you might see.
Okay. I didn't know this was going to be a Pokemon interview. Word up. I do want to ask you about the Retailers Association. I am going to interview Todd on September 11th about this show coming up. So don't tell me too much, but I would like to hear, because it seems like you're involved with that, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on the CRAV.
Well, CRAV is the Retailers Association of Vermont. So it's a Retailers Association. No more, no less. What we're here to do is help each other get benefits, help each other figure out the best POS system to use, figure out the best packaging. That's all we are, is just a business group that also helps lobby. That's what a good business group does, is try to go change.
Can I stop you? What is the best POS system to use? It seems like Dutchy was right up there, but I'd love to stop you right there for a minute.
That's a good question. I'll tell you right now. I know Dutchy in and out right now, and I don't love it. I think that there's some improvements that could be made easily. If you really want my opinion, I think that I would love to have, maybe 3 or 4 different designers reach out to me, and we just build our own for Vermont. Because me, I don't like this outside money. So
do you feel like there's a lack of competition in the POS market?
Without a doubt, lack of competition, and the idea of that we are a smaller state and therefore we don't get the respect or any of the attention that we deserve is a huge thing. And I find that all across the boards on anything. I mean, there's, custom cones. So everyone in the state probably buys custom cones. I reached out to Custom Cones and asked them to make a donation of cones for our flood relief joints that we did, the higher quality joints.
Like a pre-roll company that makes papers?
Makes papers. Just asked them for some papers. Yeah, they told me they couldn't do that. That's something that they couldn't do.
Why not?
I guess that we're just not important enough in Vermont for them to go ahead and care about us to go ahead and be able to offer that. He said he could offer us a discount. But he couldn't go ahead and take care of us. And I find that a lot. I find that a lot of people just don't think that the buying power isn't there in Vermont. They don't have to go ahead and worry about, what we think about in Vermont. Cause we're a small state, who cares?
It is a small state and it is a small market. Although personally, in my opinion, I think we have some of the best growers in the world here. It's
my Mecca. I mean, there's no place I'd rather be than Vermont and right here in Lamoille County. I think I am in the very heart of it all. And I absolutely love it here, but I don't think that we get the respect outside of the state, which is fine. That's what happens with small states. You have that. That's why corporations don't want to be here. But unfortunately, with some of this stuff, we have to rely on corporations, or do we? I mean, really, if we could just get a Vermont-based company to go ahead and do a POS system that's catered towards our compliance system, it wouldn't be that hard. It probably wouldn't be that expensive. And then you go ahead and get 57 or whatever retailers that are on there all signed on to the same system. It's not like I'm not doing anything. I mean, I guess I might as well start another company. But
and that's a big undertaking, but I do think that's a legit idea, man. And I think some of these other companies are maybe a little too big for their britches, in my opinion.
Again, all of a sudden with flood relief, I'm calling around. We're asking these big corporations that we all spend a lot of money with. and we're asking them for help, and they got nothing for us. So we'll go ahead and talk about Leafly. Good old Leafly, who yesterday stated that I'm the best dispensary in the whole state because I got the most 5-star reviews, right? So they go ahead and state that. But when we asked them last week if they'd go ahead and make a donation to flood relief, they offered a care package, no money, just a care package. And there's 30 stores I think on there paying $550 a month, and they wanted to give us a little $250 care package to help with flood relief.
Interesting. So they reached out to you at Leafly.
Well, we reached out to them, and they kind of blew us off. And to be 100% honest, I actually called them this past week to go ahead and cancel my subscription. I don't feel that they give us any customer service in the state. I feel that they kind of let us just fend for ourselves and are taking that higher road that road that Vermont doesn't matter. And if Vermont doesn't matter to you, then you don't matter to me. And that's the way I like to run my business. I take care of Vermonters first.
Interesting. And I am going to follow up on that because that's a story that some of the Leafly connections are things that I've been looking into myself. So,
yeah, it's amazing how a lot of these places, I wouldn't say they prey on us, but there's no other option in the cannabis industry.
Well, in my opinion, the word that I've been using is extortion.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I pay $550 a month so that it shows up on a map that I'm here. So
have you been getting a lot of tourist traffic, mountain bikers, stuff like that?
Yeah, through Leafly, no, but yes, I'm getting a ton of traffic. Again, most of my business is tourist business. I'd say not a whole bunch, but 65% is tourists.
I gotta shoot in with a comment here. Andy Mine saying I need to shoot over the mountain and visit his store. I'd like to slip that in there.
Come by before they close the notch.
A lot of stores too, seemingly here in the county. Yeah. Thank you for listening, Andy. I appreciate that. Yep. And if you haven't been to Dusty's store, I'd encourage you to go there myself.
I mean, it's okay. It's mediocre.
Dude, it's a good store, dude. What you've done with it's not a big space, man, and the way that you've utilized those floating shelves to maximize your sort of space in there, I think is really impressive.
Well, thank you. I mean, again, the idea of putting the product in between the customer and the bud tender was a huge factor in those floating shelves. It is also nice that I can go ahead and put 180 SKUs on those floating shelves in between the customers, not counting on what's on the wall space. So we carry a decent amount of product and a wide selection, but that selection doesn't mean shit without the customer service that my bud tenders present, and their language and their ability to go ahead and talk about the important parts of the cannabis plant, the terpenes, and really diving deep into their effects and what you're looking for your cannabis experience. That's what makes our store different. I mean,
I'd like to shout out to Jason if he's still there. Yep.
Jason is still there. Yep, Jason's still here. You come on in over the weekend. Jason will go ahead and scan your ID and get you set up.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a week or so, but I am gonna come see you soon, man.
Definitely.
I'm just getting my license back, and it's really nice for me. And your staff has always treated me with the utmost respect when I come in. And I really like that,
Well, again, the idea is that we should be treating everyone the exact same, and also kind of catering that to their experience. Not everybody wants to go ahead and get the full 9 and go through all 70 some strains. Some people are like, dude, I just want a V6. Give me 4 V6 pre-rolls and let me get out of here. Which we're fine. We love seeing those people. I mean, I got a kid, Cole, that comes in every single day and picks up 1 or 2 V6s every single day. And
can I ask you about some of the packaging rules?
Yeah.
I this wasn't on my list, but I'd really like to hear some of your thoughts about. Personally, I'm going to tell you my thoughts first. I don't think joints should have to be rolled in a glass tube. I think putting a single joint in a glass tube is really ridiculous, in my opinion. And I think maybe like you should be able to sell loosies at a store. Every morning you roll like 100 loosies, and people can come in and get one. I think that's creating a lot of extra packaging that doesn't need to exist, in my opinion. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so my thoughts as a consumer is that yeah, I'd rather just have a loosey joint. That just makes sense. My thought as a retailer,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I'd much
Go.
rather just sell loosey joints. My thought as a label maker now is that fuck no, we need to put every single one of those in a glass tube, make sure that thing's sealed up just proper, and make sure it's got a pretty label on it, hopefully coming from Vermont Heady labels.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you that, because as someone who's making these labels and stuff, I assume you have a sort of a vested interest in putting that on a label. But as someone who also, it sounds like you also like have this balanced perspective of also like, well, what you mentioned at the beginning.
Well, again, it helps that I'm crazy, so I argue with myself all day long. So like it goes back and forth. Like it's the idea is that yeah, I'd much rather just sell a joint straight up. It'd be great just to go ahead and hand a customer a joint. You hand me cash, you move on your way. It works great for the customer. It's a great interaction.
Would you be okay with selling loosies then?
Yeah. If the state was okay with it, I'd be okay with it, without a doubt. And don't get me wrong, I don't think those markets change. I don't think the Lucy market and the pre-roll tube market is the same market. I sell bulk pre-rolls right now. Those people that are buying those bulk pre-rolls aren't just buying the package pre-rolls. They're pretty much buying all loose bulk that are going into glass tubes with generic labels on them, or they're buying all fancy shiny label tubes. I don't see a lot of the mixture of both. And normally what you see is you see about a $2 to $3 price difference. So let's say you have a 1 gram $15 joint when it's in a tube. That joint will probably be $12 in the bulk version without the label. So you see that breakdown in cost.
So how much does that cost you as a retailer when you're taking a joint that was just been rolled and now you have to put it in a glass tube and sell it out your door? What's like the markup on that?
47 cents, 48 cents is what that glass tube maybe is running yet if you're not getting a great deal. I'm buying a shit ton of glass tubes, so I'm getting a hell of a deal right now. I'm trying to buy as much package as I can buy right now because I'm scared to death that it's going to run out.
And where are those packages coming from, Dusty? Are those Chinese?
Yeah, the glass tubes are all Chinese, unfortunately. The metal lids for all the glass tubes are all Chinese, but all my packaging, all my bulk packaging is made by Elevate Packaging, which is made here in the U.S. You know me, I'm real big about being made in the U.S. I want it made in Vermont. If I can't get it made in Vermont, I'll buy it in the U.S. If it's not made in the U.S.
But it does seem like most of the packaging market for cannabis is in China.
Yeah. Most of the packaging market for everything is in China. That's where packaging comes out of. I don't like it that we wrote laws that went ahead and pushed our money to China. I'd much rather we would have wrote laws that all of a sudden, Jimmy's cousin that lives in Morrisville, that's knocking out all this packaging. He gets all the contracts for all the packaging. I'd much rather have that shady backwoods deal go on than what we have going on right now. Like I can't even.
Well, it'll cut down on a lot of the shipping costs and the transportation costs of fossil fuels to drive the boat over here from China or stuff like that. It's just things I think.
Glass is heavy. So glass costs more to go ahead and move, period, point blank. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and say that, let's use Bushy Beard. Let's say Bushy Beard got to go ahead and puts everything in glass jars. He's now got to go ahead and put those glass jars all into a van.
Who I love, by the way. I'm going to throw that out there.
So again, like let's just say tomorrow he's bringing a drop for me. He brings me that drop. If it's all in glass jars and I didn't get any bulk, he's not going to be able to carry as much. It's going to cost more fuel to get that product here. It's going to then take up more space in my store, which therefore then takes more space to cool, which therefore then takes up more rent. So in the all, it all just adds more to the cost. All of a sudden, though, you can break it down to a small package where you can just sell it to me in a turkey bag, which I'll tell you, I've been buying weed in a turkey bag for a long time. It still works just as well as anything else I've seen out there.
Yes, it does.
So you bring me a couple turkey bags, I go ahead and move that into jars. We go ahead and get that organized right. Now we're not in big jars, not in small little jars. We're able to go ahead and save on that space. We're able to be more efficient with what we're doing. And we are able to save money on the fuel cost for moving that packaging around. It's a smarter way to do it.
And can I ask you, wait, I got another comment here from Chelsea Sanders. When that glass tube breaks and cuts someone or breaks, or a kid breaks it and it and gets into it, who does the liability land on? Yeah, and
that liability would fall on the same liability that you would fall on any other glass packaging, which really isn't on anybody. Like if you drop a jar of pickles and it breaks and it cuts your foot, they're not responsible for that jar of pickles.
Thank you, Chelsea, for listening. I'd like to thank you for your comments, man. If you're listening, so she said because the CCB is a mandator of these specific products, but also I'd like to add that some of this has been done at a legislative level, which is above the CCB's head, and I don't think it's fair to dump that all on the CCB.
No, it's not. But again, the liability idea is that they're stating the packaging. It's the same idea as, again, they're not going to be responsible. No one's going to be responsible for that except for the person that broke the packaging. To be quite honest, the tube packagings are actually a little bit stronger than I ever expected them to be. Those glass tubes, I've had way less breakage than I expected with those. I expected a lot more. The biggest thing that I have a problem with is the sealing of air on these packaging. None of this stuff is airtight. So you're going ahead and putting things into packaging that's therefore going to go ahead and dry out, lose moisture, lose weight. So really, what are you selling? You're telling me that I'm selling a 1 gram pre-roll, but if it's sat in that tube for quite a while, then it's not going to go ahead and be that 1 gram anymore. All of a sudden, it's going to be a 0.85.
Yeah, and that's interesting, especially, because you got a ton of products there you store, and I assume you gotta sell through that shit eventually. And one thing that has come up in my discussions is that exact thing that you just pointed out. Like, how long is your pre-roll sitting in a tube?
Yeah, well, again, I think we all try to shoot for less than a 30-day turnaround. That's really kind of the goal is to go ahead and have nothing that's sitting in our shelves for more than 30 days. Period, point blank. That's on every item that we carry. I don't want to have anything for more than 30 days. I want to burn through it and move on to the next product. Because again, we're creating more cannabis every day in the state. We need to move through it. We need to process it. We don't need to sit on it and hold it. So I think that's the best way is to try to go ahead and move all that product within 30 days. But with that being said, some companies are going ahead and you're sending out, let's say you're sending out 5-10 pounds to go ahead and get processed. You got a shit ton of pre-rolls, or you're an outdoor facility. Do you go ahead and process all those pre-rolls in the beginning of the season, or do you go ahead and slowly process them throughout? My recommendation, and from Modern Day Cannabis's ideas, my consulting company, the way that we would look at it is we'd slowly process it forward, piece by piece, and not try to do a big lot. Because you don't want to have something sitting in jars or in pre-roll tubes for a long period of time, for more than 30 days. So my ideal production idea would be to be able to knock it out, get your production done in 7 days, get that out to retailers, have that be on their shelves for less than 30, and then go ahead and start all over again and start the process. I think that business model works. I think it keeps the freshest product on the shelf. And that's probably going to be the best thing we can do, besides just selling in bulk. I still think bulk provides the freshest product for anybody. It's the best way to get the best product to the consumer.
Would you care to tell us any of your best sellers there?
Well, I mean, it's no question. Smuggler's Notch Sour is one of my best sellers. Coming out of the Smuggler's Notch Cannabis,
that was good too. Yeah,
It's fire. And we just finished their label too. We just did a new label for them for pre-roll. So you'll be seeing that roll out. Unbelievably bright colors on it, with a picture of the notch. It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, they produce fire. So that's been doing a great. Clay from Forest City has been producing some really good stuff. That's been selling really well for us. We got a cap junkie that he's got that's really been doing well. And then our number one seller for the last 80 some days now has been V6 from Honey Tree Farms. So their V6 pre-roll is just fire.
Oh, they actually just hit me up last night.
Yeah, they're doing a meet and greet here tomorrow. So they'll be at CNCC tomorrow from 12 to 3.
I'm still not gonna have my license back for another 5 or 6 days, but they did hit me up, and boy, yep, I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, they did great. They're actually our first consulting client. So they're client number one for my modern day cannabis. When I first met Jim smoked a little bit of weed. That was about it. And I've never had anybody dive into growing with such passion.
Can we talk about what Instagram did to your accounts?
Yeah, I mean, again, I toe the line on things. I don't even fucking toe the line. I'm on the other side.
Oh, dude, you're very much in line with what everyone else is doing, but it does seem like you've been sort of shadow banned by Instagram, or maybe straight up banned also on your primary account.
I was straight up banned with Cambridge Cannabis Company was taken down. We made a post. We actually got some hash rosin gummies dropped from Stone Leaf. The staff was a little excited about it. They put new hash rosin gummies drop. I got an email directly. Our account went down instantly. I got an email saying that our account had been disabled. We had 180 days, and then at that time, the page would go ahead and be completely disactive and not be allowed to be reactivated. With that note, we decided to go ahead and change things up a little bit, and so we rolled.
They really fucked you up. It seemed like you had a nice Instagram following there on your first page.
Yeah. I mean, we're making traction, but again, it's social media. You know, it's all it is social media. It's not real life. It's not the customers walking through the door. So they didn't close my doors. All they did was,
when they ban a page, it can be kind of obnoxious. Like, if someone banned my page right now, I'd be very upset about it.
Oh, my old days when I trapped off of Instagram for years. Like, I straight up sold weed off of Instagram for years and never had a problem. All of a sudden, I'm a legal cannabis business, and I can't post anything about my business. That's fine. That's the way they want to be. You know, let it be. I'm not here to go ahead and try to fight, Meta. Like, if they want to go ahead and ban my page and cut my content down, fuck them. That's whatever. I don't pay them for shit. They don't get none of my advertising money. It's just a place for me to go ahead and stand up and run my mouth.
I got a comment here from Nick Smith from Emerald Visions.
Yep. I don't doubt that, Nick. Luckily,
I've seen bulk jars on retailer shelves with the lids left off by bud tenders in a not climate controlled room.
Yeah, Nick, I definitely don't doubt that. But the thing is about how the standard that you hold your people to. That doesn't happen here. If that happened here, it'd be a scary, scary day. And for one thing, we check our humidity on daily. First thing that happens every morning is my opening bud tender, who gets here at 7:45. They go ahead and check the humidity and the temperature of every single jar of cannabis we have in the store. That goes into our chart. We go ahead and meter that. If we need to go ahead and put a pack in, if we need to take a pack out, we go ahead and adjust on the fly on that. We pride ourselves on going ahead and making sure that cannabis is better than when we got it in. That's really our goal. And if the more we can go ahead and do that, the better the cannabis is going to be for everybody. I mean, nothing's changed for me. I didn't go ahead and store my shit in open jars for the last 20 years. I'm sure the hell not going to start now. I got more than $500,000 worth of cannabis sitting underneath my roof, and I make sure that stuff is getting better every day. And if I have to, I have to throw some of it through my lungs just to make sure that it's still the quality that it needs to be. I try to do that at least a few times a day.
Do you test all your products yourselves?
There's nothing hits my shelf without it going through my lungs first.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that I don't smoke ever again, besides that first time, it automatically gets smoked at least once to end up on our shelves. It's not right for me to sell something I don't smoke.
Yeah. Yo, and I'm running out of shit for you, Dusty. We got through the 24% stuff and the Greencastle stuff and the TERP water stuff. Is there anything we missed or any shameless plugs or shout outs you want to give? Because I'm at the end of my shit and it's been a pleasure talking to you again.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't have much. The idea just being is that, I think going into this fall harvest season, it's been a rough year for everybody. There's a lot of grant programs out there. VGA's got a program out there. CRAV's got a program out there. You should sign up to both of them. There's money for cannabis businesses affected by floods. Please reach out. Let's get that money into the people's hands that need it. There's a lot of farmers that this is their first year, and they probably put all their sweat and tears and all their back legacy money put into this, and then to get washed out, it's not right. So reach out. Let's see what the community can do to help. Because again, I would like to see everybody get a fighting chance to play again next year. Again, high tide raises all boats, and the better that the worst member of our community does, the better we all do.
And that's something you've been saying to me since the first time we spoke, is that a high tide raises all boats.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, that's the thing. If I'm doing great, the people around me are going to do great. That's just the way it goes. If one cannabis company is doing super well, all of us do really well. It's just the thing. Like the higher we raise the bar for Vermont cannabis, the better Vermont does. It's not about, him or them or anybody else. It's not about whether or not I'm a better dispensary than Burn. It's not about whether or not Jeff is going ahead and running cooler deals than I'm running. It's about that we're going ahead and making the best experience possible for the consumers of cannabis in the state of Vermont. And as long as we're doing that, and we're all trying our best, we're killing it.
Look at this guy, JT Bedard. Yo, fuck you, JT, chiming in late. That's my friend. Just like with CBDs. And I think one thing he's worried about is that the cannabis market is going to be oversaturated like the hemp market. Do you have any worries about that?
It's not going to get as bad as the CBD market, but yes, it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen unless we go ahead and regulate the size tiers grows that we have, and we go.
And this is a weird conversation because I'm not in favor of limiting license caps in any sense.
Either am I, but we're talking about point. We're talking about whether or not this is going to happen, and the way to keep this from happening is this. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but it's the only way you keep it from happening.
Yeah,
it's not a positive thing. This is not anything that anybody wants. There's nobody in the industry that's sitting around being like, man, I can't wait for fucking pound prices to get down to $400. Nobody wants that. No one survives. We all want if that happens. Every single one of us. So the only thing we can do is go ahead and try to strive to make a better product, make sure that we're educating the community better, making sure we're talking about what's in the product. We start talking about terps and making sure terps are the number one focus, and then all of a sudden we start talking about the terp percentages instead of the THC percentage. We're not racing to the bottom. We're racing to the top to have the best cannabis in the country.
And this race to the bottom, it seems like, so the crash of a price of a agricultural commodity seems like it's obvious, right? Like, the price of weed is going to come down eventually, and that is going to fall on those indoor growers and those outdoor growers. And how do you think that shit will affect Vermont in the future?
What do you mean? The idea of
the price compression of the cannabis industry.
Well, again, we're doing a good job in Vermont. I think the real worry comes in with federal legalization. I mean, if you really want to talk about where we're gonna have problems, where the price is gonna fall out, is federal legalization. That's where things are really going to go ahead and go crazy. I don't think in Vermont we're going to get that huge of a swing. We'll probably get down there a little bit, but again, we're doing such a good job here about controlling the market. Like we really are. So as long as we can keep that in line, I don't see it happen to us. But in 5 years, they open those borders. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and I also feel the same way. Where if federal legalization hit in the next 3-4 years, it would be unbeneficial to people around here, and more beneficial to the government agents that are sort of running this policy.
Well, again, anything in this country, seems to go ahead and any corporation seems to do better when it's federal guidance is put in. So again, am I going to do better with federal legalization? No. Is every other privately owned type business that's just trying to squeeze by going to do better? No. But are those big ones going to do great? Yeah, they're going to love it. They're going to be able to come in, with federal legalization, they're going to be able to write off losses. All of a sudden they can come into the state and lose for 5 years and still be able to go ahead and be profitable because they're profitable in other states. That's a scare. There's no question about it. But again, I don't think that the way to go ahead and prevent that from happening is by telling them that they can't come here and play. I think the way that we keep that from happening is by going ahead and making sure that we got the best product that we can.
Well, you're never going to tell those guys they can't come here and play, because when you tell those guys they can't come here and play, they will come here and play.
Yeah,
it seems like, in my opinion.
I don't argue with that, but I don't think that the idea of taking your ball and going home is going to solve anything. I think what we really got to do is we got to beat them head on with better products, better customers, a better story.
Yo, Dusty, I'm super happy to have you on. You're my third time guest. I really love talking to you, but I'm out of shit. So if you have any shameless plugs or shout outs you would like to give, now is the time. And I really thank you. Yep. Thank you, Dusty.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate it. No, I'm good on plugs. So.
Thanks for your time, man. I know it's late and it's a weird time to do an interview, but yeah, thank you for being here.
Hey, again, I still got another 2 hours of hustling left, brother. They ain't over yet.
Yeah. Cool. If you have nothing else, I'm gonna leave right now, and I'm gonna say this is my guest, Dusty Kenney, and I'm your host, Caleb Bateski, reminding you that the devil's